right, hey everyone, good afternoon, and welcome to the Great News Channel. My aim today, and with starting this whole segment, is to end your day with positive, uplifting, glorious, and very good news from around the world and throughout the nation. So, I've put together some articles that I found online where there is strictly positive news and good things that are going on in the world. In a climate where we have a great bit of divide and a spectrum of views, it's important for us to remember and reflect that we have control on what we watch. And my aim here with this new segment, as well as segments going forward, is to provide you guys with a platform of nothing but positivity. All right. So, what we're going to do here, all right, and I like to start things with positivity, of course, right? So, what I'm going to do is go to a list of quotes that I found online that stood out to me. So, we're going to start with this first one. It's by Carmelo Anthony. And it states every morning you have two choices: continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them. Okay. And this other one right here looks like it's anonymous. Every day is a new beginning, a new chance to get things right, follow your dreams, and rewrite your story. And the last one I'm going to share here is from Dalai Lama. Just one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. All right. So let's jump into the first article. All right. This one is about a bodega owner who gives kids free food for good grades. And he states, I like seeing the smile on their faces. Now, this bodega owner he's an owner and manager, co-owner actually, and manager of Zach's Finest Deli and Grocery in Staten Island, New York, where all my New Yorkers at. So this is about Wael Al-Selwi. All right, so he rewards hard work for neighboring students, and they come up to the counter and they actually have to show him. On He has a video, I guess, on TikTok where the students come up to the counter, and he actually has to show them on his phone, on their phone, that they're good grades. So if they come in, they can go pick up like a whole bunch of snacks, some ice cream, whatever it is that they like. And you should see the kids. Their faces they're happy, they're smiling, they're very excited. You just see, not too often do kids get rewarded for things, right? Depending upon the household that they're in, will depend upon if they get rewarded for good grades, for good efforts, and the things that they do. So it's really important to highlight these things because the kids are our youth. They're the generation that's coming up. So when you typically have a reward that's given to you for the good things you do, you keep up that momentum too. It's a nice reward system. And I really think it's nice that Zach's Finest Deli and Grocery bodega in Staten Island is really doing that. And so that's one of the stories. Okay. Now, the next story is about a bus driver who came to the rescue because there was pajama day at school and a boy didn't have pajamas to go to school, right? For the pajama day. And he wanted him to be able to be happy and smile. And, he wanted to be able to bring joy to him. So this is a story about a bus driver named Larry Farris Jr. And he made sure that this young boy named Levy was able to participate in pajama day at school. Now, Mr. Larry Farris Jr., he drives buses in Louisville, Kentucky, and he noticed that this young boy was having a very rough morning. And, he says in the news article that normally when I pull up, he's standing there waiting for me with a big smile. But on this day, he was sitting on the ground with a jacket over his head. I asked him, Hey, buddy, what's going on? What's wrong? And this young boy was in tears because he didn't have pajamas for pajama day. So as he closed the doors and he watched, this young boy just slide into a seat and away from his friends, and he knew he had to go out there and and fix this up so this boy can continue to have this happy smile on his face. And what Mr. Larry did is he ended up going to the family dollar store locally and he purchased two pairs of pajamas for the young boy and he brought it over to the school and he said this, "You were hurting this morning. You were crying. So I got you these pajamas." And boy, oh boy, was Levy so excited. He's like, "You should have seen how his face lit up." He gave him a hug and he was very, very excited. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that story can bring me to tears very easily. You know, it's it's very important to highlight these things because it's a very simple act. It's an act of kindness, right? He didn't have to do that. He could have been like, "Ah, this boy, maybe he's just having a rough morning. Let him be. He'll enjoy his day." But as a bus driver and driving his kid to school every day, he knew how this kid typically is. Despite maybe what circumstances it may be. He went out of his way, out of his own pocket, and he's like, I'm gonna make sure this kid smiles and is happy. So it's really, I'm happy to be able to shine that light onto you guys. All right, the next story. We got three more stories to share. So the next story is about restaurant staff canceling a holiday party and giving funds to a coworker about adopting a baby. Now imagine this, right? You're a worker at a restaurant or an establishment and you're getting so excited for a holiday party and you know um, you may not necessarily have the things that you need to be able to go to that party or have the cool shirt or be able to bring a gift, and you're like you kind of feel bad for going, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to go anyways and have a good time you know and you should have seen, and I watched the videos about this story, and what was so mind-blowing was that instead of going to have fun, not that these people didn't want to have fun, but at the restaurant, they generally have fun on a good basis. They, on a good regular day, they get along, they're happy, they seem like very family oriented, you know? And when they went and presented to him in the back and they said, you know what, we canceled the holiday party. We ended up getting together and raising these funds for you because we know you're in a situation, and you're doing something that's a blessing. You're adopting a baby into this world and bringing them into the world. And they knew that there were some hardships, and they were able to raise money for this guy. And it was so moving. Another TikTok video, and it was so moving to see the smile on their face, the surprise, the tears breaking down, just to know that, my coworkers went out of the way to be able to help me out in a situation that is tough. So they uh they started a GoFundMe to help with additional cost, and the family initially raised 3445 of its 4,000 goal. So they gave an update and said that their savings are gone, their loans were denied, and all this other stuff. And the holiday party seemed to really save it all. So it doesn't really say how much that they were able to, how much they raised, but just being able to know that this person's life was changed without necessarily having to know the dollar amount. It's again important to highlight these small acts, right? You never know who you're gonna come into contact with on the street, you know, and what that person's going through. We hesitate sometimes as humans to be like, you know what, I don't want to impede upon that person. I don't want to necessarily stop them in their moment, but what if you were to change that? What about if you were to stop in that moment and offer a hand or offer a hug or say, hey, you know what do you need at this moment? What do you need to help you? So we have to change the way that we are, the way that we treat others, more humane and have more respect and more morals, and not allow the divide to divide us further. All right, next story is about a baker delivering free birthday cakes to homeless people, stating they're our neighbors. So this is a story highlighted about Manolo's Bakery in Charlotte, North Carolina. Where's all my North Carolina people at? This is about Manolo Bentacore. He's the owner of Manolo's Bakery in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for more than 12 years, he's been giving out cakes to homeless neighbors. And he calls them neighbors because they're part of our community, right? So, you know, I tell you a quick little story before I go into this is that homeless are people, they're humans. Not everybody, I actually don't believe anybody chooses homelessness. Circumstances may cause people to feel more safe on the streets than in certain circumstances that they're in, but nobody chooses it. You know, you could be the wealthiest person in the world and lose everything tomorrow, and you end up on the street. You know, you end up having to go to a shelter. You end up being kicked out of the shelter and having to go to the street with your family, with yourself, with whatever. You just don't know what's going to happen. So every night I pray with my kids. We pray for family, we pray for friends, and we pray for those who are less fortunate. Because at the end of the day, the hope is that those who are less fortunate are taken care of too. We don't want them to be neglected. So Manolo goes on to state that he arrived in America 25 years ago, didn't speak a lick of English, didn't have any money in his pocket. He came from Colombia. He ended up coming to Tennessee to attend college and eventually got married and moved to North Carolina. And in 2005, he ended up buying his bakery and opening it. He indicates here that he's the oldest immigrant Latino bakery in the Carolinas, which is pretty cool as well. Sells all different kind of pastries, tres leches, tartaleta, and cheesecakes to his customers. So not only selling to his customers, but he also believes in giving back to his community. So for the past 12 years, he's been donating cakes to celebrate the birthdays of those experiencing homelessness in the city. Now imagine that. Not only is he giving cake to the homeless, but he's getting cake for people's birthdays. you know, Getting to know the community and know a person enough that, hey, when's your birthday? What's your hobby? What's your interests? What's this? What's that? Really getting to know the community. And he was approached. It says it all started when he was approached by a nonprofit called Raise You Up Ministries that focus on the needs of chronically homeless people in the greater Charlotte area. And he's been donating it from his family. So it's super cool to see that this gentleman had reached a milestone. He delivered his 300th cake this year, and it's really great to be able to highlight a story like this, and I'm happy to be able to share it. Now, we got two more stories left. All right, I think I miscounted, but we got two more stories left, and break. I'm gonna be dancing over here because it's a dancing little thing, right? It's a dancing article. I don't got a lot of dance moves. All right, I can partially spin in my chair here, but maybe I'll save that for another video. So this article is actually about a cafe that offers free coffee to dancing customers. Now imagine this: you walk up into a cafe and they're like, "Break it down." Right, and then you do a little something, do a little salsa, you do a little spin, you do a little bit of your own moves, and then you go, boom, you get a free coffee or free tea. So patrons at Coffee Milano Cafe in Middleborough, Massachusetts did not hold back. Watch them bust a move. So imagine that. They tell you that, hey, come in and dance for a free coffee. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't drink coffee, but from hearing from my friends that do drink, some coffee costs like $5, $7, depending upon the size that you get. Um, so you know, a cafe thinking about that and really having an idea, I think is really, really cool. So their offer is want a free coffee? Walk in and give us your best dance moves for 5 seconds. So you don't even have to show out. You just gotta show out for 5 seconds. And sure enough, TikTok again posted a video about this to show what happened after the sign was posted. And as I'm watching the video, you got people walking in here, busting a move, kicking their feet, taking their shoes off, doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk, you know? And it's just really cool to watch, They got people doing Macarena, they got people doing all different kind of things. And the whole preface for this is that they want to spread positivity. All right. Just like I'm trying to spread positivity and do something different here, by sharing these news articles and things that I find. I think it's really great to highlight things like this. Now, where in the world do you get free things, right? But what a great way to bring people in and be able to connect with your community by doing something different. You got to think different, think outside the box, do things different, move different. I always use the analogy of a dividing road, right? You have the one person who's walking by themselves, and then you have the one person who's walking in the crowd, right? Sometimes you got to walk by yourself. You don't want to be in a crowd that's mixed, and it's not giving you anything good. Um, because if you're giving good and what's being reciprocated back is negative, it's not going to be a good cocktail. So you want to sometimes have to isolate yourself and do something different, be different. Now, the last story I found is a global article. It's from India, and it's actually about a new school for girls in India where they're able to stay cool in the 120-degree desert heat without air conditioning, which I think is pretty cool. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't even stay in a classroom with 80 degrees. So I can't imagine them being in a classroom of 120 degrees. You know, I got to say, we're pretty blessed to not have to deal with 120-degree weather here in the United States, or at least, where I am on the East Coast. But certain people in other countries got to deal with 120 plus degrees of heat. So there's a remote corner in India called, and I might chop this up, but Rajasthan. Okay. Where few girls could read, marriage is pretty much the only option. And there's an architect named Diane Kellogg who designed a school that becomes a sanctuary from the 120-degree desert heat without any air conditioning. So she uses ancient techniques like lime plaster walls, accelerate breezes, elliptical shape of the golden sandstone building itself, and jolly grids. And she created spaces that stay 20 to 30 degrees cooler than outside while running entirely on solar and wind power, you know. So it's really nice to be able to create this school for the girls where they can be free, they can be comfortable, they can also foster learning and development. And you see them be able to transform, in this picture that they're showing here on the Daily Good News website that I'm looking at. You got, these kids with their tongue sticking out and they're smiling and they're being silly, but they're able to be themselves and have their personality and not necessarily have to suffer in an environment where they can seek education and learn and grow and better themselves so that they can get out of their environment. So those are all the stories I have for today, and I really appreciate everybody who came through that showed love. This is something that's going to be new, and I plan to do every Wednesday at 6 p.m. It's going to be 1800, all right, Eastern Standard Time. So for anybody that can come out, if you really enjoy this, be sure to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and also leave a comment as well. And the other thing that I ask is that you share this amongst your friends and amongst the community as well. All right. I plan to do things a little bit different on the next go around, just because this was kind of like a first time thing. But I plan to share more stories. The other thing that I like too, and I posted this mostly on my Facebook page, but if you're on my Facebook, if you're on my Instagram, whatever socials you follow me on, if you want to share a story, please DM me. Okay. The cutoff date is Tuesday because I'm going to share every Wednesday. So by next Tuesday, if you have a story, whether it's something that you saw online or it's a personal story that you would like me to share and feature, please DM me, send me a message, and I'm going to collect all the stories that I receive. And I will, if I do choose you, then I will feature it. I'll give you a shout out, and we'll take it from there. All right. My channel aims to be able to converse and bring the community together. We have to embrace positivity and healthiness and uplifting stuff. So I appreciate y'all. Hope everybody has a wonderful, blessed day. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a great night. Peace.